So I'm in Dubai here with Huawei to attend the launch event of this, the global version of the Huawei Pura 80 Pro and the Pura 80 Ultra, which this video is about. So I've got my unboxing, first impressions of this, and of course camera samples from this impressive camera setup that it does have. So we've got a 1-inch type sensor as our main camera, 50 megapixels, and this has a variable aperture. So it can go from f1.6 to f4. But the main thing here is that periscopic zoom setup. So this is a switchable lens that it has within it. It's got sensor shift optical image stabilization, and it can go from an optical zoom of 3.7 to 9.4. And just to point out that this video is sponsored because Huawei has covered my flight and accommodation. So let's take a look at what we get first in the box with the Pura 80 Ultra global version. Great to see that Huawei does include a case for this, and it's a premium case. I like the look of it. And note that it's got this raised lip here to protect the camera module. We get a 100-watt charger. This is Huawei's supercharged spec of charger, and it's got a Type A and a Type C port, as you can see right there. And the cable included, this is Type C to Type C. The screen has their scratch-resistant, very tough Cologne glass, and this is version 2 that they've got on it. And this is 6.8 inches, our screen here. Now, in direct sunlight, it is good. It fares very well. The brightness goes up to 3000 nits, and we do have pulse width modulation of 1440p. So it means I'm not seeing any banding, any flicker so far in my time using it. 120 hertz, and this is an LTPO OLED display. A great looking screen. Now, it has some curvature to it on the edges, and we've got a front-facing selfie camera there that is 13 megapixels. It's capable of 4K video, and samples later in this video, of course. I've had some time to go outside, gather a lot of samples, and that's part of the reason of why I'm here in Dubai, just to give you some other samples there. So SIM tray takes 2 nano SIMs. Type-C supports video out, and we've got the antenna lines there you can see. Dual loudspeakers. Now, when you first handle it, it does feel a little bit on the heavy side. It's 233.5 grams. So slightly heavier than some of the other phones, but it's understandable with the hardware that this has in it with our cameras. Now, the frame around the outside curved. It does feel very good in hand. I've got easy access to the power on and off button right here. And that is all working well, in good position too. And the volume, okay, a little bit more difficult to get to, being so higher up. I wish it was a little bit lower there, but it does work reasonably well where it is located so far. With my testing, just initial impressions, of course. And then this monster camera module. I mean, this thing does stick out quite a bit. It protrudes. So here we are in the camera. So I'll quickly show you what we're able to do with this. So we've got our ultra wide 40 megapixels. We can fit a lot in the shot there. Our shutter rate seems to be very good. You can take a lot of photos, and it doesn't seem to lag behind it. Also, chipset processing, ISP, seems to be working fine. 3.7 times optical. You can take that up to a 10 times preset. And digital zoom, well, we can go a little bit crazy with this if you want. So I can go up to here. Let's just bring this up to 30 times. Okay, take a photo. And yes, I'm pressing this up against the glass, so it is going to be very steady and stable. And this is now 50. And you can go even further, bring that up to 100 times. And it does look like from the samples that it is using a little bit here of certainly AI to just smooth things out. But at 100 times, it becomes a little bit of an oil painting, but still impressive that it's able to do this. Now, if I get out of this mode, we'll go into video and see what we can do here. So you've got 4K 30, 4K 60, but tapping this now, it's not supporting 4K 120 frames per second, which I know that some of you like to use, and you can slow that right down for slow-mo, which is very handy to be able to do that there with it. Now, of course, you've got the ultra-wide, and all the cameras do seem to support this 4K 60, 30. There's no limitation that with one sensor, you can only shoot, say, 30 frames per second. No, they all do the 4K 60 or the 4K 30, which is great. Now, we have Pro Mode. We can go in here, and we can adjust that physical mechanical aperture, which is great to have this. We've seen this before, so you can have it wide open at f1.6, and you can take it then right up to the f4, which is quite close. So that's going to be great in very bright conditions there. We have adjustments for the shutter rate that goes right up to 4000 there, and the lowest being 30. Under more, we have the super macro mode and other options that you're able to select. You can see there's multi-cam dual view and a dedicated aperture mode there too as well. This is all things that we've seen before from them. So really no difference there with that. Portrait mode, okay, and you've got a 5.6 times preset on that, 1 times, and the different effects you can go through. Snapshot and pretty straightforward. Over to the cameras now with the Pura 80 Ultra. So it's a 4K capable front-facing 13 megapixel sensor. So 4K 30 and 60 right now. I have it in the wide setting, and you can tap to go to 1 times and also apply digital there, which is cropping in 2 times. I go back to the wide shot here, which does fit in quite a bit. And we have good electronic image stabilization, and the audio quality with these microphones does, so far, first impression, sound good to me. So this is our 40 megapixel camera, the ultra wide, which is 13 millimeters. A lot of brands are using 15 millimeters, so it's a bit wider than normal. We have some crop, of course, for the electronic image stabilization. That is normal. So tapping here to our 1 times variable aperture camera. This is the 1-inch type sensor. So that transition was not too bad at all. I've got 2 times digital zoom, and then I can go to optical with the periscopic camera, also with sensor shift optical image stabilization 3.7, and then shift over to 10 times. You can see that that is looking good. Still quite steady considering it is 10 times, a little bit of shake, and apply some digital zoom now. This is now 20 times here with video digital zoom. And I'll go back now to the 3.7 times periscopic camera. Impressive how tall this is. And now back to the main camera. 1 times, looking steady with the optical image stabilization. And finally, back to that ultra wide. I like video now with the ultra wide first, and the 1-inch type sensor with the variable aperture. Looking very good for video performance. Don't really see any judder here. I'll go over to 3.7 times optical. Looking at this boat, and finally over to our 10 times optical zoom, or 9.4, but they've taken it up to 10. Now jumping right into those samples, this is our ultra wide 13 millimeters. I go over to our main camera now, which is 24 millimeters, and then I do the 3.7 times optical. You can see that there's quite a bit of detail on that. Take it up to now the 10 times periscopic. So this is still optical zoom, no digital has been applied. Excellent results. And then 30 times digital zoom now. So a combination of optical and digital, looking really good. Further zoom test here of these people enjoying the pool. So first up, this is 10 times zoom. I then take it up to 30 digital and an impressive 50 here. You can still see a lot of those details of the people. Yes, it's applying some AI to improve the shot. And okay, there's a lot of smoothing happening. But still impressive considering this was shot through a dirty window. And this shot here, 30 times, a lot of detail captured of this otter. This portrait shot here was shot indoors with the main 50 megapixel camera, and this is the 13 megapixel selfie. So far from what I'm seeing, really good results. The periscopic cameras can be used to take some incredible super macro shots, as you can see from this example, just a shot of the top of the can, but you can see the condensation, those drops there, and just so many details. And I've been impressed with the low light performance, especially from that main camera, the way it handles bright colors. But the zoom cameras do fare very well for low light performance. I think they are excellent. So this is our main camera here at 24 millimeters. And then you can see I've taken this in to zoom it to now over 200 millimeters and looking excellent. Again, with our main camera. So great low light performance. But how does it fare against the competition? Well, against the Vivo X200 Pro, which is this time here at 3.7 times optical zoom on both. And remember, this is the same sensor that's used in the X200 Ultra. Unfortunately, don't have it on me. Very good results because the white balance is in fact the best on the Huawei. And if you look at the bottom of the tower there, it in fact captures a little bit more detail and seems to be sharper here with this shot. Further examples against the X200 Pro show that it is definitely a strong contender for perhaps maybe one of the best when it comes to low light zoom photography. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. And And would you like to see a camera comparison with the Pura 80 Ultra? The Pura is running EMUI because this is a global version. We want to install APK files. If this was Harmony OS, like I tested with the Pura X, we probably would not be able to install those. Now we have the 16 gigabytes of RAM there, and I believe the chipset is the Kirin 9020 that we have on board with it. And performance in the UI has been very good. Everything is very fast and smooth, and I haven't seen any lags or slowdown yet in my time testing it. So I did do a little bit of a test. I installed Gboard right here, which is working. And if you go into Pedal Search and you're looking for some of your favorite apps, well, it is going to suggest where you can get them. For example, this search, I did just decide to go and get Google Chrome, right? And there it is. It lists where you can get it. And there's a lot of different options there. So you can get the beta, and it's suggesting where you can go ahead and get that APK file to go ahead and install it. And I can confirm that this way of getting your apps that you know and love is going to be working here with the Pura 80 Ultra. Now, I did have enough time here to run one benchmark. This is Antutu, and you can see that the score, just over 1 million points here in 2025, is, of course, not great. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat this. And I believe it is the Kirin 9020 that is inside this, but not 100% sure. It could be a slightly tweaked version. But what is impressive is this. The internal storage speeds. I mean, look at that, the sequential writes and the reads. That's faster than a NVMe drive, PCIe 4.0. The Pura 80 Ultra does have dual loudspeakers, and in my testing, they sound really good. I'm going to give you a sample of them, and I think these are definitely some of the better speakers I've heard recently in a flagship phone. So here in the settings, just wanted to look at a couple of things. Our battery is 5,170 milliamp hours, and I haven't had enough time to gauge the battery life here. And we do have 100 watt wired charging and 80 watt wireless, which is impressive. That's going to be very quick. We've got the reverse charging there that we have seen before, and you can put it into the performance mode, which is going to reduce battery life, but of course make everything quite a bit quicker there, which is great. Now in the settings too, under display, just wanted to show you a couple of things here. So dark mode and all that stuff is pretty standard there. Ebook mode and the refresh rate, you can force that onto high. So high is going to be that 120 hertz that we do have, and it's got that 1440 hertz with its pulse width modulation. So that's going to reduce flicker. We shouldn't see any. If you see any flicker, that's probably my camera. I'm not in the best lighting environment right now because of, well, the sun's going down. I have limited time here, and there's not really that much for the lighting. But color modes, you've got your normal, your vivid there, and you can go along and tweak the white balance and adjust that to your own preference there, which is great. And smart resolution. So I keep it on the top res. And if you want to know what that res is, it's not bad at all. It's pretty sharp. So it's not quite like a Quad HD resolution, but it's 1276 by 2848 pixels. And this, of course, is your standard for phones nowadays, 20:9 aspect ratio. So I really like what I'm seeing with these cameras. Impressive, the performance so far from the zoom. Some of the low light that I have seen could even be better than that of the X200 Pro or the X200 Ultra. Now, if you would like to see some camera comparisons from me, let me know in the comments if you do want to see that. I need to gauge the interest there and whether I decide to set up my rig and perhaps go out with two other flagships to compete against here, the Pura 80 Ultra. Now, I do love the fact that they've gone with a 1-inch type sensor and that they've somehow managed to put the variable aperture on such a large sensor, and we get the various different stages in between. So it's not just f1.6 and f4, so it's not just wide open and then closed. No, you can set somewhere in between if you want. You have the aperture mode, and you can control that all manually with the Pro mode too as well. Video performance, from what I've seen in low light and panning around, it doesn't seem to have that jitter that we typically see with Android phones. It seems to have been smoothed out there. I don't know how they've worked that magic there, Huawei. And then the brighter areas of some of the lights, the way that the HDR processing of the main camera and with the video performance does seem to be a lot better than what we have seen in the past. It certainly does excel that of the Pura 70 Ultra, what I've also tested out last year, that particular model. Now, the screen, very good. The brightness is great. The UI, despite the chipset, is very quick, smooth, and snappy. So they have applied quite a bit there of, well, I think optimization. They're really experienced now, of course, with this chipset. I believe it is that Kirin 9020, but not 100% sure on that. It could be a slightly different tweaked version of it. And of course, that is, yes, the downside to things with the performance. When you take a look at synthetic benchmarks like Antutu that I showed you in this video, that it is a lot lower than what you're going to get out of a 2025 flagship from the other brands, of course. And that's just one thing to bear in mind. The other is with your applications and installations and whatnot of, say, APK files. That so far I've been able to install a couple of apps there with APKs. They do install on EMUI that this is using, so it's not Harmony OS for the global version. So, of course, we have the APK support. We can install our favorite apps there. And there are a few workarounds that you can apply that I've shown in other videos. So thank you so much for watching my first impressions here of the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra. And I hope to see you in maybe a follow-up video of this, of a full review or some camera comparisons. But let me know down in the comments if you do want to see that from me.